Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Prime Minister Kakar was very vocal when he drew similarities between aggression of India in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as well as of course Israeli aggression on Gaza, and he stated that Muzaffarabad is not Gaza and New Delhi is not Tel Aviv. How do you categorize this statement and how significant is this for Pakistan's global stance specifically on Kashmir issue?
Thank you very much for the question, ma'am. Of course, Pakistan is a peace-loving country. Pakistan promotes democracy, and exactly opposite is the Indian, which has a history of denying human rights to the people in Kashmir, forcefully occupying the Kashmiri territory against the will of the people of the Kashmir, as well as will of the people of the world, and total denial of the United Nations Security Council resolutions upon Kashmir. So they are refusing to hold a plebiscite, and their recent move by abrogating their article on Kashmir and changing the status of the Kashmir from a state to a union territory is totally unlawful as far as the international law is concerned. And there is no difference between the cause that the Pakistan pursues for the Kashmir and the cause that the Pakistan pursues for the Palestine. Palestine people are again under occupation. West Bank is a totally occupied territory. They were reduced to the Gaza Strip, and again not only reduced, the recent aggression is totally inhuman, excessive of any definition of the right of self-defense. It has totally caused a mayhem to the Gaza people, to the Palestinian people. Killing of the women and children are by no means a human action or a self-defense action or an action by a legitimate state. They have proved their illegitimacy, they proved their the wrongness of the claim on the Palestine, their occupation of the Palestine being totally totally against the will of the people of the world who aspire peace and democracy around the world. Right. And same is the case of the Kashmir. So there's a big similarity between Palestinian cause and the Kashmiri cause.
Right. Right. So, Ayub Shah Sahab, how do you see that, of course, otherization of the Muslims as well as Islamophobia plays a role when we talk about the implementation strategies of both the countries and both the leaders, Modi and Mr. Netanyahu, in their respective countries, and how this is, of course, shifting the social fabric of both the countries as well?
Yes, unfortunately, both the leaders they have taken up genocide as an instrument of implementation of their policies. Narendra Modi has a history of genocide in Gujarat. He is totally alienating Muslims in India. He is also alienating other nationalities, and they themselves are suffering because of this. But unfortunately, Modi is not realizing, and the same plea has been taken up. It's both vice versa. Has been taken up by the Mr. Netanyahu, who is now embarked upon genocide of the innocent Palestinians. He is using force, unstoppably against the armless people, against the harmless people rather. This theme is common between both the two leaders, who think that the genocide is the only solution, exclusion is the only solution, alienation of the Muslims populations is the only solution for furthering with their own ambitions. But this will not work in the long run, and they're exposing their own selves. And now it's well exposed right. To the world that they are the people not for the democracy, not for the humanity, not for the peace, rather for the belligerence, and violence.
Of course, but Shahryar, when we talk, of course, Pakistan has very clearly talked about these rumors. But let's talk about the issue of Jammu and Kashmir in the broader context of geopolitics of South Asia. How significant is it for Pakistan to raise this issue at, of course, the global stage?
Jammu and Kashmir is a very important part of South Asia. It is not only important for the India and Pakistan, it's also important for China. And the dispute is a trilateral. It's all three countries are affected by it. And apart from that, it has a historical linkage to Pakistan. The accession instrument was signed by the Kashmiri Maharaja on the account that it will be a state, So not only that the entire definition of the value of the international instruments is getting violated, but also that the international system is getting changing, which is not good for the humanity to prosper on this planet. Peace is something fundamental to the human existing on this planet, and if we do not follow those instruments which are meant to maintain peace around, the peace will get disturbed. Jammu and Kashmir has caused 3 wars, and Jammu and Kashmir is an ideological issue, and Jammu and Kashmir is also a humanitarian issue because of the violations of the human rights by the Indians. There are 2 explicit reports in the UN Security Council against the India for having violated the human rights, and there's a prolonged curfew going on there, and there is a complete denial of the rights of the self-determination, which the India, unfortunately, calling themselves as democracy, I don't know how, they're denying the democratic right of the Kashmiris to. So the overall definition of the democracy will get challenged, the overall definition of the peace maintenance, the overall definition of the accession of a territorial geopolitical state to a particular other state, or to form their own government, will get challenged because of the wrong decision by the Modi Sarpur regime, which is which has set aside the constitutional provisions keeping the Kashmir as a state, and no other than this is the case of the Palestinians. They are just the like cases, where the denial of the basic rights and expanding the territory by the use of the force, and through genocide and changing the equations demography is the instrument now being used by the unfathomables.
Right.
Defense collaboration is needed.
Of course, moving forward, what other potential areas or avenues of cooperation you see emerging after this important visit of Chief of Army Staff to Washington?
Yes, United States is a very important stakeholder as far as the global economy is concerned, and as far as the Pakistan's economy is also concerned, because we have a huge, about more than 25% exports going to the US, they're destined there. And then we have a very potentially sound and intellectually sound also diaspora residing in the US, who can play their role to bring up the national economy of Pakistan. And the engagement of all these stakeholders, both the industry as well as diaspora as well as other avenues, by the Chief of Army Staff, highlighting the role of SIFC is a worth praising step, and that is likely to yield its own benefits. US can play its role many folds, in other areas also. Peace is a prerequisite for the economic growth of the world, and peace is also a prerequisite for the growth of the Pakistan in the modern days to come. So US can help us both in maintenance of peace, engaging the Afghan government from a third dimension, as discussed earlier, and as well as making the environment conducive when it comes to the Middle East and other regions are concerned for the Pakistan, and helping Pakistan to promote its exports.
Right. Doctor, thank you very much, Syed Muhammad Ayub Shah, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Shahriyar Khan, for joining us in today's program. Of course, in today's program, we discussed about important dynamic shift in the globe, and these are significant, and of course about the significant visit of Chief of Army Staff to Washington as well. Both countries agreed to explore avenues of cooperation for shared, of course, interest and benefit. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.